7% of Gen Z says they want to be their own boss. We on TVC speak to entrepreneurs who've decided to build their own path.
India's bold leap, space station by 2035, Venus mission in 2028, ISRO's big plans for 2040 and beyond. We speak with the top bosses there and also understand what has been India's indigenous push for space brilliance.
Today morning on the show, we're talking about what looks like a seemingly increasing trend. Gen Z choosing to shift away from the traditional idea of 9-to-5 jobs and opting instead to become their own bosses. Let's take you through the numbers first. So a recent poll actually conducted in the UK revealing that 77% of Gen Z wants to be entrepreneurs. They're aiming to run their own businesses and the goal is to do something of their own instead of working for established firms. More data actually pointing out within that same study that 39% of them believe they can be successful and they can manage a business entirely from their smartphones. This trend highlights obviously the increasing role of digital tools and platforms within the larger idea of becoming an entrepreneur that we're anyway seeing an increase in today.
So what's making this generation sort of skip what they call our corporate mazdoors? And it is an inflexible environment, is it? Is it wanting to retire early? It can't be just tech, right? It's clear that this digital savvy Gen Z has a fantastic entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, it goes beyond just wanting to be their own boss. They're driven by passion, curiosity, the desire to create something meaningful. Some develop these attributes early on. Some are sparked with the need of solving somebody's problem. They don't care if it's a white-collar job or a blue-collar job. They're just looking for gaps in the market that can be catered to. So much so that even if you compare them to the earlier generations, like Generation X, baby boomers, etc., they were all driven by societal pressures ki naukri achhi honi chahiye, career path hona chahiye. Gen Z doesn't care. And CEOs vouch for it because these CEOs of companies go on to talk about the exponential technology exposure that is there in this generation, the mindset of innovation and agility that is there in this generation, and which makes them to say that, listen, we will freelance over regular jobs, we will do gig work, and we will be our own boss.
Right, and often creating your own thing is so much harder than working a 9-to-5. It's hard to compare the two. So today on the show, we have with us exciting young entrepreneurs who started their own thing. And we'll go over to each of our guests to understand a little bit about how they've decided to break free from the traditional career mold, build their own path for themselves. First on the show, we have the founders of Shakhe. It's a fashion brand that upcycles, or started at least by upcycling saris, kurtas. We have with us Aishwarya and Nomita both on the show. I believe you're actually wearing Shakhe outfits with us here. Just tell our audiences a little, because we said you started by, I believe this was a pandemic baby. You started by upcycling clothes that were lying around your mother's saris, kurtas into, for example, corsets. Just walk us through the initial idea. Aishwarya, we'll take that to you. Sorry, we'll tell you before we go to each one of you.
Yeah. So we started it in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. So at this point, we were still in college, actually. So, it was that point during the pandemic where we were all pretty bored. Apart from our classes, we were looking for something else to do. We couldn't get out of our homes. So that's when we saw a lot of saris and old dupattas, which has like probably a small tear because of which it can't be used anymore. So we thought, okay, let's just try making something with this. So personally, we started doing this on our own with like the limited knowledge we had at that point of designing, because we were still in the second year of college. So that's how we started out. And slowly, as we started posting it on our personal Instagram accounts, a lot of people reached out to us saying, oh my God, this is so unique. You should sell this. And that's when this idea kind of sparked within us. And we discussed it and we just thought, okay, let's give it a go. Basically, we didn't start Shakhe with the intention of it becoming our entire career. It started more organically. I think that speaks to our slow fashion brand in itself. And that's how it started out. And slowly we realized this is what we want to do because we love doing it. Even between our college assignments, we always wanted to do Shake. And after we did our internships, it just became more clear to us that we want to work for ourselves. We think there is scope here, and there's a gap in the market here. So that's why we went ahead with Shake.
Okay.
Right. After we did our internship, it came to us. I want to delve a little more on that one. But just for our viewers, Aishwarya and Namita, they're 24, 26. They are from NIFT. They clearly knew that they were studying for fashion designing. A lot of fashion design students actually want to have labels of their own. So my question then, Namita, to you is this. What happened at that internship and what made you guys feel that, listen, we've got something exciting going on over here. It's coming from a passion space and let's pursue this.
Okay, so we both worked at completely different kind of internships. I worked in a premium menswear brand while she worked in a ethnic small fashion women's wear brand. In mine, I just did not feel the passion for menswear, first of all. And looking at other colleagues, I realized it's going to be years before they even consider taking my opinions in terms of design. And there's very limited stuff that you can creatively do in brands like these. And was kind of hindering my growth as well. So because of that, because Shaki was happening side by side, I felt so much freedom here compared to that, where I can creatively express myself, which is why I felt like it was much better to work on our own than work in the fashion industry, which is a little bit different from corporates, normal corporates. And yeah.
Very interesting. So you had that sort of awareness ki theek hai, ye nahi karna. I don't want to do this. Let's go back to Aishwarya. If I could ask you, in the journey of Shake, it feels like there's been quite a bit of iteration in terms of initially starting by upcycling. I think at some point you've realized that while you do want to focus on being eco-conscious in many ways, you've had to broaden out from that initial upcycling tag. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that has looked like? Tell us also about the resources involved in creating something of your own.
Yeah, so like I initially mentioned, we started out during the pandemic with saris and things that we found around in our homes. But then soon we realized as the demand increased, it's not possible for us to continue like this. So in nature, Shake has always been about Indian textiles. So that's where our thought went. After that point, we thought, okay, we need to source more Indian textiles. We're noticing that a lot of people of our generation have started taking a notice to these textiles, but probably don't want to wear it in the same way that our previous generations have been wearing it in terms of kurtis or saris or more traditional Indian wear. So that's when we started sourcing the fabrics, but stuck to truly Indian textiles. And we realized that we also need to keep up with the upcycling tag that we have had from the beginning. So in the middle, we also did use whatever saris we could find either from in our homes or our friends' homes. People would often approach us telling we have this sari, we don't want to throw it away. You guys could make something out of it. So we would still take those up and we make our desi corsets. They're called Rani. So that's still on our website. We still upcycle those things. And we're also zero waste brand. As in, after we cut out our pieces, none of the waste material, we make sure it doesn't go out into landfills. We try to prolong the life of these scraps in a sense that we either make scrap totes, like upcycled totes, or we make tushi kushis is what we call them. They're basically cushions that are stuffed with scraps, like cut into small pieces. And we usually sell them in our stalls and such like that, or also give them out for free when we as like a marketing thing in stalls. Okay. So that's how it continued. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Namita, since we're discussing why Gen Z likes to ditch the 9-to-5 job, there is this sort of trend which is saying, listen, I don't want to work for anyone. But then reality also strikes in where you have to raise funds on your own. You have to be, if you employ more people, you have to pay salaries. You have to be responsible for them. There are going to be no leaves, no period leaves, no maternity leaves. You've got to work all day like it's your baby. So how is that coming along for young people like you? And I'm sure there's an entire community of those who are starting out young.
Yeah. That makes sense because 9 to 5 was never an option for us. But when we start a brand, we do have to work 24/7 on it. So it's not really a bargain, but it's starting your own brand gives you a better work-life balance, which is what we're looking for because I don't think we're finding that anywhere else. It's not about like like starting your own brand. You can be lazy, you can do whatever you want when you want. It's nothing like that. It's like 100% effort every single day. You need to show up to work just like a normal job. And you have to give it more because you have something to prove now to the society that you started something on your own. And you have to be like, you're so passionate about it. And obviously, it's your baby. You want it to work. So it is pretty hard because, like, some days when things are going wrong, you can't go to your boss and be like, because you are your own boss and you're just like, you need to figure stuff on your own. And some days are pretty hard, but we just have to figure stuff out on our own, I guess.
Let me ask, Aishwarya, let me ask you, just taking from what Namita just said, walk us through a challenge that Saki has faced, that Saki has overcome. Tell us about that. Also, because you are a digital first, we're just showing for our audiences what your Instagram page looks like. I believe you have almost 40,000 followers on your page. Your customer base looks like it's primarily Gen Z also. What is it like having Gen Z customers? Are there a share of problems that come there too?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the challenges we faced initially was we had started in 2020, but I think by 2022 we were still stuck with the same number of following. We had a lot of repeat customers, but we weren't able to reach the larger market. And even if we did, we were not able to uh, provide what they wanted. So that's another thing. That's an issue we had back 2 years ago. But then I don't know what happened, but I think it's sort of luck to an extent that one of our reels went viral, and because of that, we suddenly started getting a lot of followers, and that's when we were kind of forced to expand. We were forced to stop doing everything ourselves, at least the stitching part of it, because up to that point, we were even doing that ourselves. So we were forced to hire a tailor, and that was one of the challenges we faced. I think the fear of like getting out of your comfort zone was like it was kind of difficult for us involving other people. So we're still facing a challenge with that. I'd say we're still very small and we do need to expand a bit more. So I think the fact that we went viral kind of forced us to step out of our comfort zone. So that was one of the challenges we faced. And as for dealing with Gen Z customers, I mean, obviously they have been really supportive of us, and we are majorly an Instagram brand, but we have a website now. So we do get a lot of comments, a lot of DMs. It's difficult to, like text so many people constantly, but we do understand their fears. Like, since we are an Instagram brand, I think we've faced a lot of customers being scared that this is a scam, that we won't sell them the products. So yeah, things like that is our day-to-day life, like having to assure people that no, we're very conscious about your order and we'll make sure it reaches you, and we'll make sure we'll sort out any problems that you have. So yeah, that's been a challenge and it still continues to be. Hopefully it gets better soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Aishwarya and Namita, thanks so much for coming in here and sharing your story with us. But we've got more people to understand this Gen Z trend of ditching 9 to 5 jobs from. Let's welcome Vinayak Agarwal on the program now. He's the founder of Byte Speed. He's 26-year-old. What he does is he helps e-commerce brands sell their products on chat apps like Facebook, Messenger and WhatsApp. So if Shaki is actually listening right now, you are making a product which is ideal for them. But my first question, Vinayak, to you is that when somebody like you, who sort of made it to BITS Pilani, it's a dream college for a lot of people, went to your parents and said that, listen, I don't want to do a job. I'm not dreaming to be in the big fours and I want to do something on my own. What was the reaction like?
Yeah, I think it took some time for them to also digest it. But I think over time, over time it got better. Initially, of course, there was a mix of surprise and concern. But yeah, I think once we started showing signs of progress, things just got better, and now I think they're quite supportive.
Vinayak, today Bytespeed is in a very, like, even we were just sharing with our audiences some of the numbers. You've raised 2 million in funding with Sequoia a little while back. You know, the numbers look good. But tell us a little bit more about the earlier time. So you actually started this in your first year in BITS Pilani with a number of your friends. You decided to do this, and then you've iterated multiple times in between, right? Like, you've shifted what it is that you're going to do. Tell us about that, and then tell us a little bit about the Gen Z confidence seemingly that's happening here. At no point are you going, ye nahi karna hai. You know, you're just figuring out the next step.
Yeah, I think for us, as you said, we got started in college, and I personally was doing a manufacturing degree, so I knew that wasn't going to get me a job, so I had to sort of figure things on my own. And yeah, we did actually change things along the way. I think initially we just got started in the music space. That was back in my first year. Then we did something in the restaurant space, and eventually e-commerce sort of stuck. But I think like we were just generally more problem and solution agnostic. We just wanted to build something that works, and we were not very married to a particular space, at least at that point. And we just wanted to be early on something that might be important in the future, and just build some domain expertise to be able to build something.
I see. So Vinayak, help us understand this. When you say we wanted to do this, I'm assuming a lot of people around you at BITS Pilani were also, had the startup kida, as they say. But only one in every 10 startup is actually, profitable, actually sees the light of the day. We know the statistics and all of it. Help us understand why so many young people are driven towards doing their own thing. And why is there lesser confidence being driven by the big companies which come with their own set of job security and a regular inflow of income?
Yeah, I think the trend has definitely picked up. I think like 6-7 years back when I was starting up, there were maybe like very few people, at least in my batch, and immediate seniors who were actually starting up on their own. As you said, like going to a larger company was the default. But I think fast forward to now, I see maybe more than 50% of people in my immediate circle just wanting to start something of their own, leaving their job. So it's definitely picking up. And I think I can speak for myself. For me, at least, the reason was just operating in an environment that's more permissionless and that has more non-linear upside. I did try doing a few internships back in college, and also was fairly involved in the college clubs. But I just figured for at least my personality type, just doing something of my own was a better fit. And I think over time, there's also a lower risk profile now associated with startups in general. There's more funding available. It's become more mainstream, which is why I think people are sort of picking it up more now.
Vinayak, can we also ask you, the two founders we spoke to a little earlier, they run a clothing brand and they run a slimmer operation, right? It's the two of them and a tailor. In your case, you have 26 people in your team. What is the day-to-day of that like? Because you obviously came on board with this idea, but making that shift to someone who's going to lead a team of 26 people, look over their day-to-day issues, what has that been like?
Yeah, I think it was a learning experience for sure, because I hadn't worked anywhere else and hadn't led a team. So it definitely took some time to sort of understand how all this works. But I think what's also quite helpful is, in general, the Bitsian community, people who've started up earlier, you can lean on them for advice. There's a lot of content available on how do you sort of go about the different fundamentals of starting a company. So I think I just used some of that to be able to learn some of this over time. And now it's sort of settled in, given that we've been around for like 4 or 5 years now. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinayak, I've learned a new word today. I wanted an environment which was permissionless. I think that is going to really stay with me for a while. But quick one there. And, just a story which is on everybody's mind right now when we talk about workplaces. Do stories like Anna Sebastian's, what happened at EY, do they also play a role in how Gen Z decides where to work and what to work these days?
Um, Hard to say. Hard to say. As I said, at least for me, the reason was just having already tried what was available. I could see that okay, this is the best fit for me. I still don't think that doing, let's say, a startup is a good. It's a very rational career choice. It doesn't come across like that, at least to me. And it's good for startups to be relatively low status. And I think, yeah, so I think it varies. The reason to do a startup varies for different people, and the choice between working at a larger company versus a startup. There is merit to, of course, trying both and then seeing what fits best.
Okay, thank you.
I see. I see. All right, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much, Vinayak, for joining us with that perspective, and good luck with what Bytespeed is doing next. All right, moving on and talking about making big leaps. India is truly reaching for the stars, quite literally. We all know that ISRO has been on a roll from landing on the moon to shooting for the stars. But guess what? They've got some bigger, bolder and far more ambitious plans on the horizon. India's very own space station, the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, is set to launch by 2035, and once it is in place, it'll be the ultimate out-of-the-world Airbnb of sorts for our very own Indian astronauts. Next up, we've sort of also spoken about conquering the Mars, but what about Venus? Thick clouds, crushing atmospheric pressure, and a narrow window of opportunity in 2028.
Right, if we miss it, Venus literally drifts away to the other side of the sun. So we've got a short gap open to us. Speaking of missions, India's very own Gaganyaan is obviously still in the works. ISRO is going all in on Desi tech to make sure this one is not only successful, also super cost effective. India obviously has plans to put astronauts on the surface of the moon by 2040. And to break this down and everything else that is on ISRO's cards, Harish Upadhyaya, colleague, gets us all of the details. He's spoken to ISRO's chairman, that's Dr. S. Somanathan, about all of ISRO's plans. Take a look.
Well, Gaganyaan mission is the crucial one that all focuses on right now, but ISRO is also working on Chandrayaan 4, another ambitious mission of ISRO to collect sample and bring it back to Earth. It's a sample return mission, and this is the proposed module for Chandrayaan 4. The designs have already been submitted to the Government of India and it's waiting for approval. This will have a lander just like in the Chandrayaan 3 mission. There will also be a rover. What is special about this is that it will collect samples of rock and soil from the lunar surface, bring it back to the lander, and then the module will carry it to the propulsion module, which will then return the sample to Earth. Well, there are two crucial challenges in a mission of this nature, sample return mission, and two of them have already been in a way successfully demonstrated by ISRO. During Chandrayaan 3, ISRO tried the hop experiment. Essentially, this lander makes a hop, which showed ISRO that it can restart the lander and then ensure that its engines fire and it can move away or in a way take off from the lunar surface. The other crucial experiment that it also carried out during Chandrayaan 3 is ensuring that the propulsion module moves from the lunar orbit to the Earth orbit. And that's something that they have done in Chandrayaan 3. So some of the crucial stages for Chandrayaan 4 already experimented, in a way demonstrated by ISRO. And once the design gets approved, ISRO will start working on it. They are hoping that they can launch this sometime around 2027, 2028. That's the rough timeline that ISRO is looking at right now. And they're very hopeful that they will manage to ensure that this lander lands on the surface of the moon and ISRO manages to get back samples from the lunar surface to Earth.
So Gaganyaan is going as planned, but of course there are delays in the Gaganyaan program, primarily because of the technology complexity. And we were expecting certain procurement from outside, which did not happen. Certain manufacturing to happen outside could not happen. So everything we have to do it in India now. HAL is a partner now building the crew module, which we thought that we can get it from Europe, which didn't happen. Similarly, the environmental control and life support system, we were planning to get it from some other country, which also didn't happen. So we have to do it in India now. We are reached a level of maturity now. So all of this development took a little more time than expected, which is natural. So we are looking at how to launch an unmanned mission late this year. And after that, based on the result, we will go subsequent missions of 2 missions 2025. We will have to have multiple launches to build it first, using the available launch capability and sizes. So that is again a limitation. So after that, we will be having regular missions up there with astronauts. So we are first planning that it will be more of robotic nature, not really with human beings, because we can do most of the work now with robots. But then to get an environment of microgravity is very unique. So we can send experiments up there, bring it back also. So we are designing it in such a manner that it will be fully robotic. It is similar, but then it is entirely different. One is Venus has a different atmosphere. It has a more different scientific goals than Mars. So it's a rarefied atmosphere in Mars, whereas it's a thick atmosphere in Venus. So probing the atmosphere is not easy. No one till now has seen the surface of Venus yet, because it has such a thick cloud around it, 100 bar pressure. So our goal is to put a satellite around the orbit and also send a probe into the atmosphere and do measurement. So, but to do that, we need to prepare. Many capabilities have to be developed. So the current work is, the approvals are only for developing that capability, not really for that mission. That mission will come as an approval much later.
From entrepreneurs to out of space, we hope you've had an inspiring start to your Wednesday morning. Go forth. And right now, we here on CNN are going to switch into election focus. Right now, second phase of elections taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. 2.5 million people deciding the face of 239 candidates in the fray for 26 seats. Those are just some of the numbers that are at play through the rest of the day today.
So watch that, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, where we'll be speaking about identity fraud and how you can stay out of it. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You know,
يلا